Most engineers treat their CV like a diary of what they've done. That's understandable. We're trained to be accurate, complete, and explicit. We show our working. And once you see what hiring managers are actually looking for, a lot of common CV advice suddenly stops making sense. So when it comes to a CV, the instinct is list everything. Don't leave anything out. But hiring managers don't read CVs that way at all. And that mismatch between how engineers write CVs and how they read is one of the main reasons experienced engineers keep getting ignored. Because a CV is not a career history. It's a decision-making tool. So why do engineers write CVs this way? Well, from an engineering point of view, a detailed CV feels responsible. You list every role, every system, every technology stack. You're thinking, I want them to see how much experience I have. And that instinct comes from a good place. Well, at least I hope it does, because that's how I used to do my CVs until I realized it wasn't what was needed. Engineers are judged on correctness, completeness, and whether something would stand up to scrutiny. So a thin CV feels risky. It feels like you're hiding something. The problem is the person reading it isn't auditing your work, or career in this case. They're trying to make a quick human decision under pressure. So how do hiring managers actually decide? Managers are usually juggling several things at once. They're behind on delivery, they're short-staffed, they worry about making the wrong hire. So when they open a CV, they're not settling in for a nice, careful read with a cup of coffee. They're scanning. So what is it that hiring managers are looking for? Well, they're asking questions like, is this relevant to what we're doing? Does this person look like they could solve my problems and the problems before us? Have they done it before? Will I regret putting this person in front of my team? They're looking for reassurance, and reassurance comes from clarity, not volume. So what does this look like from the hiring manager's side? Well, I read a comment on Hacker News. I generally interview over 100 engineers before I hire. My first thought was, you're doing it wrong. And then I thought, if they're interviewing that many, how many CVs do they actually have time to scan? Very, very short period of time. This problem gets worse the more senior you are. Early career engineers don't have much to include, so their CVs are easily naturally focused. And this is where experienced engineers usually trip up. Senior engineers have decades of experience. So the CV grows sideways. It gets bigger and bigger. More roles, more tools, more achievements. And what happens is this. Everything looks important, so nothing stands out. Instead of answering one clear question, why is this person right for this role? The CV tries to prove general competence. And at senior level, that's rarely enough. The shift that fixes this is surprisingly small, but it changes everything. When you're writing your CV, stop asking, what have I done? Ask this instead. If I were the hiring manager, I'd be asking, can they solve my problems? And what do I want to see to feel confident about this person? Not impressed, not amazed, confident. Confidence comes from relevance, from pattern matching, from predictability. A good CV makes the hiring decision feel boring in a good way. It makes the manager think, yes, I know exactly what I'm getting here. And here's a simple rule that helps keep things focused. If something on your CV doesn't reduce risk, for the hiring manager, it doesn't belong there. Doesn't mean your experience isn't valuable. It means your CV isn't the place to catalogue it. Your CV isn't there to tell your story. It exists to solve the hiring manager's problems.